I always advise beginners to virtual assistants to start with a freelancing platform. And one of the reasons is I started there. I started with a freelancing platform and it still works. But there are a lot of problems with relying on only freelancing platforms. One of the major problems is they can shut down your account at any time. It happened to me. And also with the competition rising, starting as a complete beginner with no reviews, zero client reviews on a freelancing platform, it will take a little time for you to find your first client. That is why I also advise to be aggressive when you are just getting started. In order to be aggressive, you have to be outside of the freelancing platforms. And that is why today I bring someone who started virtual assistants without using any freelancing platform, and she made it as a virtual assistant. She became a successful virtual assistant without using any freelancing platform. And today she is going to teach you how you can also get started without using any freelancing platform and stand a chance of finding your first client fast. Erin, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be joining this video. And I love this content that we're talking about because there are so many ways to get your first clients. So I really admire you as well.
Well, thank you. Why don't we start with a little intro about yourself and how you got started?
Sure. So I started virtual assistants in 2012, which back then, already 12 years ago, it was still a new concept. And people would often ask me if I was Siri or if I was the equivalent to a Siri on a phone. So people did not quite understand what it was that I could do. And I got started in the industry, I'll be completely honest, I was so tired of my previous job. I actually worked in the film industry before, which sounds very fun and exotic, but it is neither of those things. It was 100 hours of work. It was hard work. I was exhausted. And I thought to myself, I can't keep working this way for my health, for my mental health. And I didn't really know what to do next. And it wasn't until I spoke to a friend on a film one day that she said, a lot of the skills that you're doing in the office for films and shows could actually be done for other clients or like administrative type things. So it really got me thinking, and I suppose even before I knew what virtual assistance was, I thought, okay, I can take my skills and I can work with people, not on films. And as I started to research really what that meant, what was virtual assistance, how could I get started, one of the things that kept coming up was an earlier version of Upwork that no longer exists anymore. Back then it was a company called Odesk. And I had looked at this platform and thought, maybe this is how I get my first client. And unfortunately, within days, I realized I could not figure out how to do it. It was very challenging. There were very few clients on the platform because it was also a fairly new platform. So I didn't have many options. There weren't many people who were looking for my skills. And if there was a client who I thought would be a nice fit, I had to write a proposal, and usually they never responded to me. It was a very different system. And I was feeling just so dejected. And I thought, I am never going to get this started. So I went back to business basics. And I thought, how did people before the internet get clients? And I realized it was by talking to people. It was through your network. It was through asking people for referrals. So that is actually how I got started. I went back to the people that I worked with on films, and I told them what I was doing. And out of 20 people, one person came back to me and said, I could use your help. She was my first client, and I was doing very simple things for her. You know, maybe cleaning out some emails. She had me make a photo album with digital photos for her family. Very simple tasks, but because she was my first and she was very happy with the work that I was doing, I asked her for referrals. And this one person was the one who started spreading the news about my business. So ultimately, it was the person-to-person conversation that got my business growing. And now today, 12 years later, it's a 6-figure business, which I feel blessed to have built it to this size over this many years.
Yeah, this is something I hear a lot.
Really?
Starting with your personal connection is really very, very valuable. And I can see why, because if someone already know you, there is no reason for a lot of complicated stuff. There is no reason for some complicated contract. There is no reason for them feeling insecure about sharing some stuff with you. Yeah, I can see why that is important. Yeah, but when you started 2012, right? Is Upwork and Fiverr, were they around? I really don't know. Were they around 2012?
Fiverr may have been new. To be honest, I don't even remember seeing it. But Upwork did not exist yet. It just was so different, and the few platforms that existed were just small, and they were hard to use, and not many clients were there. So I really feel like I did not have an option, and which I'm thankful for today, because it really forced me to focus on networking. And just as, like you said, when you said how important your first level network is, your friends, your family, your coworkers, former bosses, it's so important, because just as you said, they know you, they trust you already, and it takes away this level of having to really sell yourself, because they already have trust in you and faith in you. And that is so important. So I'm so glad you said that.
Well, there is one challenge that I envisioned in my mind at that time, since there wasn't Upwork and Fiverr wasn't really popular. I believe virtual assistance wasn't popular at that time, 2012. So I think even learning some of the things that you need to learn, to like writing a good proposal, creating right portfolio, all of those things are going to be a lot more challenging. Right now, there are a lot of videos on YouTube on all of those things because of how popular it is. But I can imagine at that time it is going to be very hard.
Yes. I felt like I had almost no resources, and I used a lot of YouTube videos for people who freelance in general, who start their own businesses. And so I tried to apply that to virtual assistants, which was helpful. But at the same time, some of the information I was getting online was wrong. I remember reading some blogs about people who, here in the US, we have this very complicated tax system, and we have to figure out ourselves how much to pay, when to pay, how to document it. It was just too much for my brain when I was getting started. And a lot of the info I found was incorrect, and I had to pay a lot of penalties. So at the time, yes, it was very challenging. And I'm thankful today that there are more resources and people like you who are teaching people how to get started.
Yes. I guess if someone comes up to you now and asks you, I heard the word virtual assistance, I did some research, I understand what virtual assistance is, but I don't think I have enough skills to do virtual assistance. Where shall I start? What will be your advice?
That's a great question, and a very common question. If I had to think of this answer in a concise way, I would say start simple and take a piece of paper and a pen and think about every single job, skill, anything you have done. Because most people think I do not have skills. Even when I started in 2012, I thought I do not have any skills. I was wrong. We all have skills. We all have gifts that we are good at, work that we are good at. So I started with a piece of paper and I brainstormed projects that I have enjoyed working on in the past, things that I was good at. I brainstormed, thought of old jobs, and I wrote every single skill down that I could think of. It was a whole page. And then what I did was I crossed out things that could not be done online. So some of my skills I had written down were, maybe things like even when I was a waitress at a restaurant, I was very good at relationships with my customers. And so while I had to cross out, any kind of in-person service skills, I realized even from that job that I had good interpersonal skills. I was good with clients. And so that list just made me realize that there were things that I was good at. And once I crossed off the skills that could not be done remotely, I was left with a small list of skills that I could try to start selling to people. And those became my core services. They were things like cleaning out somebody's inbox, writing emails on their behalf, making phone calls on their behalf. It was booking travel because I book a lot of flights for myself and I knew I could do this for clients. So you can start as simple as that and know that there are people out there who, even if you think booking flights online is simple, I promise you, none of my clients think that that is simple. So don't ever discount your skills because they may be easy to you. They are not easy to other people.
Right. Now that we have this, we know how to get the skills, how to have the services that we are going to start offering. What shall I do to start preparing myself to start working with my first client? Do I need a portfolio? Do I need some kind of template? What exactly shall I do to prepare myself to start working as a virtual assistant?
You have excellent questions. So I will tell you what I tell my students, and they are always surprised. When you understand what skills you could start offering and services, it is important to next step to figure out how much you want to price those services. Pricing is one of the most difficult aspects, I think, of this business because there are a lot of factors that go into your prices. It could be how strong your skills are, how long you've been working with these skills. It could be where your clients live geographically. But what I suggest for everyone, no matter where you live or want to work with, you Google, you search for other virtual assistants in your area or virtual assistants offering similar services. Many virtual assistants will list their prices either on their website or on a social media post. And if you can start to gather information, you will come up with a curve of very low prices and very high prices. And from there, you can really just start to figure out where you think you fall within that curve. That is just to get started. That does not mean your prices will remain the same. But before you worry about making a website or creating some sort of portfolio, this sounds crazy, what I'm going to tell you, but it works. Try instead to create a LinkedIn profile, which is free. I actually used my LinkedIn profile for 8 years before I made a website, and I got clients without a website. And part of that is when you're a new VA, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows your name yet. Nobody is going to Google search you and find your website. So I would like you instead to focus on a really impactful LinkedIn profile, because there is also where you can share the services and your skills and your price and your email and encourage clients to come talk to you. And not only that, but on LinkedIn, it is almost like a social profile. You can search for terms on the profile on the platform. Like you can even type the full phrase, "I am looking for a virtual assistant." And many people who post that, their post will come up on LinkedIn, and you can start following them. You can connect with them. You can write them a message. You can send them a direct message. But it's just helpful for you to have a presence without spending money, and don't stress too much about it, about your portfolio or website if you don't have any work to show yet. It's really about the personal connections.
You know, it was just yesterday someone in my Facebook group asked, is it a good idea to have a LinkedIn profile as a virtual assistant? I said, my response was, I really can't tell you, can't give you an answer to that, because LinkedIn was my weakness. I really hate using LinkedIn a few years ago. So I really never used LinkedIn. I just started a few months ago. I thought maybe I should just be on LinkedIn. So I created my account there and started posting something just occasionally. But yeah, this should be a good answer to that question from yesterday. I'm going to point him to this video.
Perfect.
And I guess the next question, the next thing many beginners ask me is related to pricing. Do you think it's a good idea to go with the lowest price when you are just getting started? Because some beginners think going with the lowest price will allow them to find a client faster if they are offering the lowest price. What is your take on that?
So my answer is going to be conflicting. So I'll start by saying that oftentimes the lowest price gets you the worst clients. Truly. Exactly. The clients that make you unhappy and maybe even hate your job or make you think, wow, virtual assistance is terrible. Because these clients, if they only want to pay you the lowest, they don't respect you. They do not respect your skills. They do not respect the years of work or school that you have put into your knowledge. They just want low price, fast. Those clients typically will not be your long-term clients either. Those people tend to want to just pay very little money for one project and then they're gone. And I know this from experience, because when I first started, I also thought maybe I should be lower than other people. And I ended up getting clients who just don't respect you. They expect a lot for a little money, and it's not great. And so what I find is that by pricing yourself, if you see, again, that curve from low to high, maybe price yourself right in the middle and start there. Now, the reason my answer might be more complicated is because, let's say, just for fun, you find that your competition is between $5 and $15. And you think, I'm going to charge $10. And you speak to people, you talk to your network, you talk to people on LinkedIn, and after a while, you're still not getting clients. Maybe at that point, if it has been months of active, constant effort, maybe you do consider lowering your price to maybe $7. But only in an extreme case where you think, I'm potentially priced too high, let me lower it. That, though, almost never happens. It's really, this business, like any business, is really based on personal connections. So if you can connect with somebody on a personal level, and they like you, they like your personality, they like the services that you offer, they are more likely to hire you, the person that they enjoy working with, at your rates. And those are good clients because they respect you and your work. So the lowest price is a very difficult decision that I would try not to make.
Yep. I also made that mistake when I started. Yes. I started freelancing before I transitioned to virtual assistants. And I said, okay, that will be a great idea. Set the lowest price, and I started with the lowest price. I started on freelancer.com, and I did end up finding client. I found 6
Nice.
clients with the lowest price. And what happened was I ended up, I never withdraw any money on the platform, even though I work with 6 clients.
What?
Because the one issue is you have to pay the membership if you want to stand a chance. So the money that the client pay me, I use it to pay my membership on the platform.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the 6 clients I work for, I ended up with 50% 1-star review.
Oh my gosh.
So the profile was just unusable. I just had to abandon the profile and just restart it on Fiverr. And that was a mistake I made. I just chose the lowest price, and I ended up finding clients that are not going to work, that are just going to give me a hard time. So that was a lesson I learned the hard way.
It's so interesting that, and I'm sorry that happened to you. Oh, all that work and no pay.
Yeah, well, it's a learning experience.
Starting a business is always a learning experience.
Yes,
But
yes.
wow, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
did you also find that, as you said, like the clients who were paying low were just not great people to work with? How was that for you?
The client who the budget is their main focus, it's very unlikely for you to enjoy working for them. So what I always advise people is to find someone who his focus is quality. If you find a client who their focus is just good work, that is the kind of client you want to work with. But if you find a client who is just budget conscious, they just want to find the cheapest virtual assistant, that is never a good client to work with, because there are so many problems that you are going to have with the client that we cannot even cover all of them. But if you made the mistake of going after those type of clients who are looking for a virtual assistant with the lowest rate, you are going to find out that is a bad idea. That's just the advice I give to beginners.
That is
I
very
guess,
well said. Very well said.
yeah. My next question, I guess, is I prepare now. I know the skills I am going to start offering. I am ready for my first client. What shall I do?
Okay.
I know we are going to start with connections, personal connections, but just what shall I do as a complete beginner?
Perfect. And you're absolutely right. You are going to start with your immediate connections. So I always recommend to my students that they write a simple email with, you say, hi, so-and-so, hi friend, hi family. I have started a virtual assistant business. These are the services that I offer. If you know of anybody in your network who needs my services, please forward them this email. It can be as simple as that, because most students think that when they tell their aunt or their cousin that they're working as a virtual assistant, that the cousin will be their client, which is not true. I don't want your cousin to be your client. I want your cousin to tell other people about your business. And most virtual assistants overlook this step and they go right to social media. And what is the problem with that is that if you don't tell your friends, your family, or even your previous people you work with, if you do not tell them, they don't know that you have a new business. B, most people who love you and support you want you to succeed. And so they will keep you in mind. And if they are at work or at a conference or at school or anything, and somebody says, I'm so busy, I need someone to handle my emails, they can say, I know, Erin started her new business, or Sadiq started his new business, and here's his email, email him. So that can be very helpful. And the second thing I would say from that is definitely create a LinkedIn profile and start to connect online with other virtual assistants. You can just introduce yourself with the services you offer, connect with potential clients that you want to work with. It's always helpful to have an idea of people that you would like to work with. Because I think a mistake that some people make is when they start as a virtual assistant, they think everyone on the planet can use my business, which is not true. There's this old saying, if you advertise to everyone, you advertise to no one. So it helps if you have a specific person or industry in mind. For example, I knew coming from film, my old job, that I could work with people who were related to the entertainment industry. And so some of my first clients online were people who worked in some way in some sort of visual design or TV or creative comic book writing or script writing. Those people were all my first clients. I think because I was able to find a niche that I was familiar with. I wanted to work with them, and it helped me focus who I connected with on LinkedIn. So rather than connect with every CEO everywhere, I just focused on people who worked in film and television. And I introduced myself to them, and we were able to make a connection that way. So do tell your friends and family, but also really think about what industry or what type of person you would enjoy working with, and try that first.
Okay, my next question is something a lot of beginners also ask me. So I'm going to ask you and get your take on that. How important is mentorship for complete beginners to virtual assistants? Like, do you need a mentorship to succeed? Like, if you can't afford a mentor, you absolutely can't afford a mentorship right now. Do you need to wait until you can find a mentor in order to get started? Because I personally know people who don't even have a computer and they cannot even afford to buy a computer, and they are thinking of a mentorship. So what do you say to that?
This is such a great question. I'm so glad that you brought this to my attention too. Do not. I never had a mentor starting. Many other virtual assistants I met never had direct mentorship. And in 2024, we are so lucky to have YouTube and people who have worked in this industry for a while to share videos, just like you're doing, of helpful tips or advice. These online people can be your mentor in a sense, but you don't need a mentor to tell you what to do, especially if you cannot afford one. And my best advice related to this is that when you are a new VA, you are a new business owner, and it is very, very smart to spend as little money as you can when you get started. Because sometimes it does take weeks or months to find your first client. It can take time. And sometimes it takes weeks or months to find your second client. And so if you're spending money that you don't have yet, it can be a lot of stress. It's something I never recommend people do. So if you can find free resources online, free courses, online courses and programs online, I would start there. And at the same time that you're learning, keep notes, keep a running list of things that are important or things for you to try. At the same time, build your LinkedIn profile. It is also free. Connect with people. If you can find free groups in your city that are business related, meet with them. Invite yourself to their group one day and ask them if you can tell them about your business. But no, I don't think you need a mentor. Although I am curious to hear your thoughts on that as well.
I personally bought a lot of courses. But my answer to beginners, to anyone who asks me this, is you don't need a mentor. It's good to have a mentor if you can afford a mentor, but you don't need a mentor. When I started, I don't even have the money really also to pay for mentorship. So I started without a mentor. I started buying courses after I become good at virtual assistance. I had clients, I had the money to pay for the courses. And the courses really I paid for are the courses who teach me something specific.
Yes.
I wanted to learn how to use DaVinci Resolve. I bought a course. I wanted to learn C#. I paid for a course. So I wanted to learn several things. When I want to learn something specific, I paid for a course, because that is very important. But if you can't afford one, then it's not a good idea to wait until you find a mentor. Because sometimes someone will send me an email asking me to be their mentor. And when I ask some follow-up questions, the answer I give to people is what you need is action, not mentorship.
Yes.
Because sometimes beginners just said, okay, I need a mentor. They use it as an excuse not to take a real action. What you need is action, not mentorship. When you get started, you'll be able to find your first client without a mentor. And if you want to like scale and go bigger and fix other problems, then you have the money to get a mentorship. But when you are just getting started, what you need is taking action.
Oh my gosh. I would like to quote you all over the internet for saying that, because you're exactly right. And also, I think if you wait for a mentor, you could be waiting forever. People could say no. Action is always best. It is always better to start yesterday than wait until everything is perfect.
Yes, exactly.
It will never all be perfect. You have to just start and take action. Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
I don't want to keep you here forever. So are there any final tips you want to leave for beginners to virtual assistants?
Well, I have some notes here. Let's see. Oh, actually, yes, one of my favorite tips too, when you're just getting started, is you might be listening to this and thinking, okay, I have a LinkedIn profile, now what? Something that I heard when I first started, I wish I remembered who told me, I wish, but they told me to become a known resource. And what that means is that if you are able to focus on a niche, if you can talk to one specific person in your mind, and online, you go to LinkedIn and you write posts to this person. I don't care if you draw a stick figure on a Post-it note and you decide that that is the one person you're talking to. If you can create social media posts, graphics, videos, even you just talking for a few minutes about a tip that relates to this person that you hope to work with, the more consistent you are with speaking to this person, writing content to this person, the more likely you are to become a known resource, which means one day your ideal client will have come across your content. And one day they'll think to themselves, I need a virtual assistant. And you are going to be at the top of their mind because they've seen you, they've seen the posts you're creating, they've seen the writing that you're doing, they've seen you talk on video. And since you've been talking to address problems that they deal with or, solutions that might help them, they'll think that person should be my VA because they really understand my business. So if you can keep in mind as you're creating content to market yourself or to make your profile more robust, think to yourself, how can I become a known resource as the best VA for my ideal client? And that can be one of the most helpful things to do because it really focuses your content. It makes you think about how you want to reach your client in different ways. And it builds up essentially a portfolio of how you think and work as a virtual assistant. So it can be immensely helpful.
Well, that is very helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't want to keep you here forever, so I'm going to have to stop it here. I know you have, if anyone wants to ask you follow-up questions, you can all post it in the comment. And yeah, I'm sure me or you can get to it at any time. And we can put a link also in the description for anyone who wants to learn more about you and your coaching services. I know you coach virtual assistant. So anyone who wants to learn more, we are going to have a link in the description. Thank you so much for doing this. I personally enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, any final message before we wrap up?
No, I'm really hope that this helps. It is possible, everyone. It is possible to create a thriving business. It takes time and it takes consistency, but you can do it. You can do it.
Thank you so much. Well said. And yeah, we are going to wrap up here. All of you, thank you for watching. Now get out there and take some action.